The Seventh Tower by Garth Nix. Book 4. Above the Veil. Chapter 2. "No, you push the lever in and turn it at the same time," said Tal, as Adris, his spirit shadow, once again pawed ineffectually at the handle of the hatch. "Look, I'll do it." He started to climb back, but Adris finally managed to work the handle out. The hatch shut behind them. "Now I want you to twist the handle off," said Tal. There wasn't any lock on the hatch, but if Adris pulled the handle off, it might jam the mechanism. Nobody would be able to follow them down.
"Need light."
Adris puffed as he wrenched at the handle.
"Not strong enough."
Tal made sure his foothold was secure before extending his hand. The sunstone set in the ring he wore flashed orange and then turned to white, steadily growing brighter and brighter. With the light, Adris became more clearly defined. A storm shepherd from the spirit world of Einar. Here on the dark world he was a free spirit shadow, bound to be with Tal, but not necessarily to obey him. It was a situation Tal regretted most of the time. The billowing cloud of shadow was vaguely man-like, but twice the size of Tal. One mighty arm heaved, and the lever broke off in his hands. He was about to drop it when Tal shouted, "No! Pass it to me! Mila and Aldris are below us, remember?"
"Sorry,"
Adris said as he passed the broken lever to Tal. Tal put it in his pocket, sighed, and recommenced his downward climb. Tal had found the hatch only by accident, stubbing his toe on the lip as they raced through one of the vast caverns where the underfolk cultivated thousands of ugly strings of the root vegetable they called bellish. Tal had never liked eating bellish, and pushing through a thick forest of muddy bellish roots wasn't much fun either. But the accidental discovery of the hatch had made it all worthwhile. The guards had been closing in. Now Tal was in a narrow tube leading down at a 45-degree angle. There was no proper ladder, but spikes had been driven into the stone close enough together to use as foot and handholds. There was no permanent light either, no sunstone set in the walls, floor, or ceiling. To get light, Tal pointed his sunstone down, and an answering light flashed back up from Mila's sunstone, twin to his own. Mila was descending quickly, wasting no time. The Icecarl girl was now totally focused on leaving the castle and returning to the ice. She believed that she had made wrong decisions and sailed a wrong course. The spirit shadow at her side was a constant reminder of her pride and failure. Only on the ice could she atone for her misdeeds. That spirit shadow followed her now. Like Adris, Audris was a storm shepherd less than a day before, but that had been in the spirit world of Einar. Here in the dark world she was Mila's spirit shadow, and having a spirit shadow was against every Icecarl rule and custom. Mila believed the loss of her ordinary shadow meant the end of her dream to be a shield maiden, and probably the end of her life as well. Only the need to inform the crones about what was going on in the castle and Einar would prevent her from giving herself to the ice as soon as she got out of the castle. But first, they all had to get away from Sushin and the guards. Then they had to find Tal's great-uncle Ebbet and try to make sense of everything they'd learned. Not that Ebbet was ever much help in making sense of things, Tal thought. But he might be able to explain what the keystones were, how they controlled the veil, and how Tal's father, Rerum, could be affected by the orange keystone. What was it the Codex had said? He is the guardian of the orange keystone. It has been unsealed, and so he does not live. Until or unless the orange keystone is sealed again, he does not live. If it is sealed, he will live again. There was also Gref, Tal's brother, to think about. Tal had almost rescued him, but was foiled at the last moment by Sushin's tricks. Gref had been poisoned, or somehow put into a coma, just like Tal's mother Grail, though she had been sick for a long time. Tal had tried so hard to help his family, to live up to his father's wish that he look after them. But whatever he did, something always went wrong. In the beginning, he thought all he had to do was get a new sunstone, and that was hard enough. Life was a lot harder now. Distracted by these thoughts, Tal didn't hear Mila call out to him from down below until his spirit shadow tapped him quite hard on the head. "Ow!"
"Mila says there's a drop into water,"
Adris reported, his voice too loud, as usual. Even as a spirit shadow, he retained the characteristics of a storm shepherd. He boomed rather than spoke, and shadow lightning crackled around his eyes and fingers. Tal looked down, shining his sunstone. Mila had stopped and was shining her sunstone farther into the tunnel. Something reflected back, quite a long way away from them. What water could it be? Tal frowned, trying to remember long ago lessons about the layout of the castle. They were climbing down from the 7th Underfolk level, which was filled with various workrooms, vegetable and fungus farms, and manufactories. The 7th was the lowest complete Underfolk level, except for some isolated forges and the fish pools. That was what lay underneath them, one of the huge pools where the Underfolk farmed fish. Yellow scale and finners for the chosen stables, and the translucent shrimps that were such a delicacy when dried. Sometimes there were eels in the ponds too, but they were considered vermin by the chosen, left to the Underfolk to eat. "It's shallow!" Tal shouted down to Mila. "Don't jump!" Mila scowled back at him, and jumped anyway. But she jumped holding on to Audris. Even as spirit shadows, the Storm Shepherds retained some of their cloud characteristics. Mila floated like a feather, with Audris spread out in a great billow of darkness above her. Mila splashed down gently, the water only up to her waist. She raised her hand and increased the light from her sunstone. She hadn't had the stone very long, but Tal noticed she was rapidly gaining better control of it, even though he'd given her only the briefest of lessons. He found this unsettling. Only the chosen were supposed to be able to use sunstones. It was yet another part of his world and his beliefs that had started to come apart at the seams. Tal wasn't sure what was true anymore. Most of what he'd been taught in the lectorium seemed to be half-truths, or only part of the whole picture. It was almost as if the main purpose of his schooling had been to blind him to wider knowledge, rather than teach him. "Come on," Mila ordered. Tal sighed and climbed down to the last spike, then reached up to take Adris's hand. The spirit shadow accepted it absently, and let go just as Tal was about to drop. "Hold on to me," Tal said, "and you need to puff up so we can float down."
Sorry,
boomed Adris.
I was thinking about home.
"Well, don't," Tal muttered. This time the spirit shadow did as he was told, hanging onto Tal and puffing up so they made a controlled descent. Even so, Tal cried out as they hit the water. In the dash to escape, he'd momentarily forgotten the pain from the waspworm sting. The jar of landing and the cool water sent a jab of pain right through him, and he stumbled forward, almost sinking underwater. Adris hauled him up, and Mila and Audris looked around. "Are you all right?" Audris asked. Characteristically, Mila didn't say anything. Tal knew that she would never have cried out for something as simple as pain. He gritted his teeth and stood upright, wincing as his legs spasmed. "I'm fine," he said, though it took an effort to speak. "Let's go." "Where?" asked Mila. She held her sunstone ring high so that its light spread out all around them, illuminating a wide circle of shimmering water. Beyond that circle was darkness. Tal turned his head, looking all around. The fish ponds were extremely large, he knew, some of them 2,000 or 3,000 stretches in diameter. But there would be a dock or platform somewhere, so the fish, once caught, could be boxed and transported up to the storehouses and kitchens. The only problem was knowing in which direction that dock lay.